Greeting interwebs, Jackie K, and welcome back to Mad Red Dead. I guess you could say we got jacked? Name of the song is Call Me Jack. I think that's how the saying goes. So yeah, things are a little confusing right now, because we thought Mad Rat finally got his comeuppance with the human. Justice finally been served for the wrong he's been given, and all that. But right before we were about to get the cheese and claim our happy ending, all this started coming down. We are nowhere near the lab. There's apparently a lot that needs to be explained, and no time to explain it, because right now, running for your life kinda gets priority when you're a rat, and you got the cat chasing after you. As for the level itself, TBH, this is where the gimmick kinda starts sucking. You will see me screw up homing attacks a lot this point going forward, assuming you didn't already think I was screwing them up a lot as is. Because the win adds a whole other layer of expectation of how to handle the mechanic, and as you may have guessed from the past 7 episodes, me and homing attacks do not click. We do not click at all. And the next couple levels do not shy away from combining win with homing attacks and having a dash at the right time so you can actually do the homing attack afterwards. A little behind the scenes just so you get an idea of how bad I struggle for the rest of this episode. The way I do this, the way I do the commentary so I can feel confident having this be a first through despite the fact that this is all post-commentated, I keep the mic on while I'm playing the game, but I don't typically use the live commentary track minus the outtakes thing that I'm working on. Oh, and a few particular exceptions you've seen throughout the playthrough, like episode 1 where I discovered in the middle of playing how to actually do the dash attack. Or one of the previous episodes where that weird glitch happened where I just zoom all the way to the top of the screen. When I was doing the slow-mo for that in editing, I actually used the live commentary. What you saw slow down was my actual reaction as that was happening. So, because most of the time I'm not talking. It's just like if something comes up while I'm playing, I'll say it out loud. So while I'm editing it and making the post-commentary, I can make notes. So, all my notes from the live commentary can basically be boiled down to this. This is the worst part of the game. No, this is the part of the level where the homing attack really screwed me over. No, this level is the one that I'm thinking of where the homing attack was at its worst. No, this was the annoying level. And, oh no, this was the level I was dreading this whole playthrough. I swear I'm serious this time. Which is a shame, because I feel like right at the last episode, if I didn't say it out loud, then I was definitely saying it in my head. But I swore that I would complain less about the homing attack, because it really felt like I was being a dead horse. But I'll officially say that I'm gonna shut up about it. At least only bring it up once an episode. After this episode, because on the tangent of parts that I really struggled with, this is one of the areas that I specifically marked in the recording session as a part of the level that I struggled with, and that, quote-unquote, this part sucked. And you're probably seeing from the gameplay now why I struggled so much. It's one of the many classic examples of me struggling to figure out when the homing attack and when to dash. My first time playing these levels, not necessarily the first through you're seeing here, I did so much worse. As a reminder, I call this a first through and not a blind let's play because I just haven't finished this game yet. The ending of this game, I can't even say it will be blind because I've seen a playthrough of the game. That's what inspired me to pick it up for myself in the first place. But I will let you know when we get to the point where the levels are going to be completely brand new to me. At least from a gameplay standpoint. For right now though, yeah, the more I watch myself struggle here, the more I wouldn't be surprised if this was the level. But there was definitely a lot of parts, my first time playing for these levels, I struggled bad. At one in particular, I can't remember which one, I struggled so bad I actually ran out of time and game overed. Because I kept dying in that one particular area and having to reset myself over and over and over again. Okay, maybe now I can finally let all the complaining go to rest and actually focus on why I'm playing this game in the first place. Cause your eyes aren't playing tricks on you, I'm not doing anything crazy in the editing. We did just end up back in the lab again, even though we're out... Don't mind me, just making sure you all have a moment to fully appreciate that face. That rat face. I think it's become clear what's going on, so I'm gonna jump the gun a tiny bit ahead of Heart. Everything we've been seeing is a lie. Well, majority of it. Getting back to the lab, doing the final blow against the human. It was all in Mad Rat's head. I personally believe it picked up during the Mob Rat fight. That was a huge reason why Heart was freaking out, if you haven't put 2 and 2 together already. Those rats were perfectly fine. Them freaking out and attacking us, that was all in Mad Rat's head. So from Heart's perspective, the perspective ironically closer enough to reality, those rats were just minding their own business and Mad Rat went and murdered all of them. But who knows, the delusions could have been going on even earlier than that. After all, those weird nightmare things that we were finding as early as the first episode, though I think it was all established that first episode was not rooted in reality, we were in rat heaven. But even like the second level, the nightmare things were still following us around even though we thought we were all in reality at that particular time. But the delusions Mad Rat was having certainly would explain why they were there, despite them being so out of place. But now with that big plot twist out of the way, you're probably wondering why? Why was Mad Rat so delusional? Maybe we'll find out throughout the adventure. We're kinda out in the middle of nowhere anyway, so we've got a big haul, a big trek to go to get back to the lab if we were truly going to achieve our goal before the end of the night. Yeah, the lab is all the way back in that city in the background. We really went far in our delusional state and strayed really far from our main objective. I mean, yeah, like even now, the nightmares are still feeling around. You could argue it's for game design more than plot at this point, but I guess it goes to show that Mad Rat, even though he realizes what's going on now, we're not completely out of the boat yet. We need to keep focused if we want to keep true to our objective for real this time. At least Mad Rat and Heart seem to be on the same page now, which is all good. Heart's probably the closest thing that Mad Rat has to a friend at the current time. So it definitely doesn't hurt to have someone on your side. Since I was so fixated on how bad the last level was, I think this would be a good time to fixate on how good the game is. The past 2 songs were fantastic, even though, like, a little annoying to go through. Being so fast-paced kind of helps with the whole struggle with the navigational thing after all. And if it hasn't already been emphasized already, the music is going to be fluctuating a lot more from this point going forward. So don't get too used to those super fast beats like I do. You gotta be ready to just how quickly you're moving through the rhythm on the fly. Cause you can, if you're really rhythmically inclined, you probably can feel out when the beats change just from listening to the song. But for me in particular, I have some rhythm, but I don't think that much. So like, part of my gameplay is trying to keep an eye on the heart meter to try to get an idea in advance when the beat's gonna change. And sometimes I get so fixated on that, I forget basic button commands, like when to stomp and when to jump. And that death you saw a little earlier on, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a primary reason why I did something so incredibly silly, we'll call it. Oh, come on, no. He almost somehow managed to salvage that. I think it's a good time to remind people that the main gimmick of Mad Rat Dead is that it's a rhythm platformer. And it's to the point where both the rhythm aspect and the platforming aspect have equal weight in the gameplay. It can be overwhelming for some players, because it's not an all-runner or something where you can just focus on playing to the rhythm. You're fully expected to move around the course of the game, avoid obstacles, all while keeping up to beat. Which makes for a unique and fun gameplay experience, but when I say it out loud like that, put it in that sort of tone, it does at least explain why this concept may not have been done more often. It's not necessarily a bad thing, I'm just understanding more and more why it may not be everyone's cup of tea. And it also just goes to show that there's plenty of room for improvement to make this game even better. Hold on, I didn't think there was anything too major going on in this cutscene, but I didn't notice that the first time, Hart pointing out how Mad Rat seems to have a fixated path, like he's being guided. And mentioning the cheese, it just reminds me how closely tied together gameplay and story is, a little bit more than I even realized at first. And as I feel I mentioned already, I'm a sucker for when video games do that, just take full advantage of your mechanics to tell a story. While I'm talking about the cutscene, I might as well summarize what's going on here. It basically boils down to Hart going to Mad Rat saying, do you really need to get back to the lab and meet up with the human in order to feel accomplished? Can't you feel accomplished in this lovely jungle? And for once, Mad Rat's not just immediately pushing him off, going, no, screw you. Actually, like, taking the time to listen to him, rephrase his wording in a more polite tone of like, I understand what you're trying to say, but I have to do this because of that. You can finally start to see their relationship being built up for the better. And something tells me that we're gonna slowly start to piece together the why Mad Rat was so delusional coming up ahead. Just call it a hunch. Didn't think about it before, but yeah, Mad Rat was raised in a lab his entire life, so I guess this conversation kind of makes sense from his perspective, just never seeing a wild rat and not even being sure, them feeling so different, yet familiar enough to actually be a thing. Though, this strange... I blundered and said strange rat, but the strange rat is kind of acting strange, so I'm not totally wrong there. Hart even going up and saying, hey, that's kind of like how you were back when you were delusional. Giving Mad Rat, and to a lesser degree us as a player, an idea of what things were looking like throughout our adventure from the outside looking in. And while Mad Rat still has his own mission to accomplish, he also gained the point he won't feel fulfilled with his life until he better understands what was going wrong in the first place. Funny enough, just like how we as a player, sure, we know what we're supposed to do as Mad Rat, but we really want to know what's going on inside his head too. All that to say, yeah, we got a mission to accomplish, but let's see what this rat's up to. What the heck is going on with him? It's probably going to be the closest we get to understanding what the heck was going wrong with Mad Rat, so why not just hop right in towards it? All we gotta do is platform through some more awesome music and go through wind mechanics. You see my play here? If I stomp down like that, I die. But because the wind was flowing up, it wouldn't let me just pass on through. So what the heck do? You know, let's find out together, because I honestly even forget. I guess like not hitting the beat would help. But of all the ways I expected to die in this level, that was not one of them. But hey, I feel like, especially if you want to get like a perfect combo and get the best score possible, I would assume they have to make the game design in a way that you can navigate it without ever missing a beat. Because while you can like just not hit a button, and you won't be penalized for it, but you won't get a point for it either. So I'm not sure what you're supposed to do there, but I guess not pressing the button and just letting yourself float down a tiny bit is better than nothing. Again, because I feel like I don't stress it enough. Pretty awesome track we got going on here. Bit of a shame that I'm dying so often that we can't fully listen to it. But I mean, if you pick up this game for yourself, there's at least a sound test that you get to listen to the music as you go throughout the adventure. I think I mentioned it, but it's worth emphasizing again. Because this game's got good music, and doesn't feel like it's got enough good ways to actually listen to it. Like, you're not gonna find the soundtrack on Spotify or anything, unfortunately. Though, I could use this opportunity of trying to praise the game more to talk about the developers themselves. Because despite them not being a company that I hear about too often personally, but they have been around for a while, and there's at least one series that really sticks out in my mind that they're responsible for. I'm not sure how many of you are actually familiar with the Daisakia series. Dang it, I can never remember how to actually pronounce it. And it doesn't help that it's not really a series that I've actually had the opportunity to play myself, but it was always one that kind of like, if I had unlimited money and unlimited time, it definitely would be a game series I would at least try. Because of what I've seen of Daisakia, it seems pretty fun. It's kind of out there and crazy with its writing, but it does seem like good writing. And from the little bits I've seen, like, I could believe that the people who wrote the game for Daisakia were the same people who wrote the game for Mad Rat Dead. It has a similar level of polish and care, while still having lighthearted moments. Or just still having, like, fun moments, I guess would be a more accurate term. Only other thing I can really talk about with Daisakia, unfortunately, I really don't know too much, and I really need to fix that someday. Have you ever heard of a penguin thing called a pringy? You know, you might have seen them in memes every now and then, of the penguins that go dude all the time. Yeah, the people who made those pringies, I'm pretty sure are the same people who made Mad Rat Dead, so if that's a selling point for you, there you go. There he goes, probably down to the land that Daisakia takes place in. Also, in hindsight, this definitely feels like the point where the game expects you to know where the dash is. I don't remember how the heck I got through this area without the dash, but yeah, it definitely seems like clinging onto the walls, using the dash to air stall just long enough to actually pass there, or just giving you enough distance to cover some of these gaps that they expect you to cross. I'm sure glad I know what pressing the X button does, because I don't realize or don't know how I get through this level in particular without that ability. Yeah, there's not too much more before I'm gonna call it apart, so I don't really know. I don't feel comfortable enough taking time to go into a completely new tangent, but I'm not really sure how much more I could talk about Nippon as a company, because, I mean, this game is probably the most experience I've had with the company outside the bits I've seen of the Daisakia and that Pringy spin-off. Although I don't even know if they made it, or if they've outsourced that game to another company or not, but it is of the same characters from a game series they made. That Pringy game, if nothing else, looks kind of interesting, just in the concept that it's like a platformer, but like, I don't even know how to describe it honestly, but it seems like an experience I wouldn't mind actually playing and having. Not sure if I'm gonna go out of my way for any of those games, unfortunately, because a big excuse for a long period of time why I haven't picked up anything in Daisakia was because they, to my knowledge, they were PlayStation exclusive games for a long time, and I do not have too many Sony consoles, or I have not been in the Sony market enough times to actually pick up on that time. They've been more popular for the Switch, which is nice, makes it accessible to me. But these days, like, I will definitely use like time and money as an excuse more often. There's just so many video games in the world, so many different experiences to have, and that's fantastic. There's practically a video game out there for everyone these days, especially if you include the indie market, which kind of feels like it gets underrated, especially because, like, I do feel like a bad consumer sometimes of, like, a big reason why the indie market is so appealing to me is because it does tend to be cheaper. Something like this, even though it's definitely, I don't think it's really an indie game. But Mad Red Dead was like only 30 or 40 bucks compared to the full retail price a lot of other Switch games tend to be these days, like any of your Mario Odysseys or Legend of Zeldas. So the fact that it's a little cheaper, despite not being an indie game, may be enough reason for some of you to at least go try out the demo and see if it's worth picking up. With that out of the way, I think we're about ready to wrap it up for now. But hey, we found those rats that we were pursuing. Maybe we can see more of what they're up to in the next episode. I've been Jackie K, and I'll see y'all later. Take care.